a roast, BitChute roast. I was just looking, I've had the day off today, so I was just looking here, having a look at seeing what he's doing, the sex pig, seeing what he's doing. And I just saw this one again, because it seems like you're getting a lot of ments now just coming from these max effort days. So a lot of ments coming. And it seems that the little sex pig, the fake merc, the 8-buck cuck, it seems like he has been hiding or nursing an injury again. So again, he's damaged his shoulders. His shoulders are weak. They're fucked up. He keeps injuring them. And this is what I was saying, because he doesn't know how to train. Yeah, he doesn't know how to train, doesn't know what he's doing. And, well, I'll start it off and we'll talk about it as it goes on.
Hello, Targar friends. Hey, everybody, it's Jason Blaha here. And once again, it is time for another Orc Mode workout. And today was Max Effort Bench Press Day. It's a quick reminder for those of you who watch these videos, please click like down below. Help me keep the likes higher than the dislikes. We know based upon performance last week, my delts are now enormously weak after having rehabbed my shoulders. I'm at a point now where I'm not in pain on a daily basis, and I have mobility in my shoulder back. And mobility still isn't wonderful, but I may never have amazing shoulder mobility. I just might not. And so I'll keep working at it. And I noticed I didn't want to do the overhead presses today. People will say stuff like, why don't you lock out?
One rep.
That's...
one rep. This is why he's fucking injuring his shoulders all the time. Yeah? It's why he's injuring his shoulders all the time. Because he's doing one really heavy rep with no work, so no warm up or anything. This is how he gets injured. He just puts on a load of fucking weight, as much as he can bear. I mean, this doesn't even look like much, but he packs on a bit of weight, as heavy as he can go, and he's weak. His whole upper body is really weak anyway. His arms are like noodles, and his shoulders, he's got no shoulder development whatsoever. He's got the hunchback, but he's got no arms, no shoulders, no chest, just the hunchback. And he thinks he's a powerlifter, a strong man, yeah? So he puts on a bit of weight on the bar, the buffalo bar, and does one rep. No warm up. Just one rep, one heavy rep without warming up. And he wonders why he gets injured. Jesus Christ. When I injured my calf last October, that was after 2 hours of training, because I probably overworked it. Yeah? It wasn't because it was cold and it wasn't warmed up properly. The muscle and joint wasn't warmed up. It was very warm. Very sort of loose and warmed up, But this clown thinks he's a coach, thinks he's got all the answers. And he just keeps getting injured. Keeps getting injured. Look at the shit that he does. Look at his athleticism. Watch him try and get off the floor. Watch. Look how long it takes him to get up off the floor.
We got that today, and I think I only got 9 on the final rep, but this is 235 for 2 sets of 10, then a set of 9. I'm happy with that. I don't really want to go lower than that on reps, so I'm going to try to work with this weight and see if we can increase reps. But even though I missed
athleticism.
Max, I came in and did.
I mean, absolutely repulsive, isn't it, really? It's just, everything about what he does looks shit. Everything he does just looks shit. The form is terrible. I don't know what it is that makes what he does. It's him. It's his body and everything. It's just terrible to watch. Just the form, the technique, everything is just shit.
And I think what people need to remember is that by normal standards, my elbows don't lock all the way either. Now, people will say, is that an injury risk? No, that's my skeleton. You don't get hurt because of your skeleton. You don't tear muscles because of your skeleton structure. Okay? That is.
Look how wide his hips are. They're almost as wide as his shoulders, which is the feminine sort of, what's it called? The feminine ratios. You know, men have wide shoulders and small hips. Yeah, the classic V shape. That's their skeletal structure. He's talking about skeletal structure. We're talking about his skeletal structure. Men have the classic sort of V shape. Yeah, unless they're hugely fat, you can't see it. But a normal person, a normal man, his shoulders are wider than his hips. Yeah, with a woman, usually the same size, or even the shoulders are smaller than the hips. You know, that's why you get that curvy kind of look to a woman. His relatively narrow hips are actually the same sort of width as his shoulders. So if he's got very relatively narrow hips, then his shoulders must be very, very sort of narrow as well. Or his hips are huge compared to everything else. So whatever way, you know, our eyes don't deceive us. This looks the same width as his shoulders. Yeah, and that's a very feminine ratio. You know, we know he's pear-shaped. We know he's got sort of cellulite. Who knows what the hell he really is? Male, female, trans, I don't know. Who knows?
That is my structure. So my elbows do not reach the fully locked position. Like I said, plus my shoulder mobility.
How boring are these videos?
Keep working on the rear delts.
Just him mumbling away.
And those get an enormous amount of work. Like, I'm giving them a lot of love through the week. It's still tons of band work.
It's just all shit,
I have
isn't
sets
it?
of 15, but I'm having to rest pause these. So this technically is exceeding my strict 15 rep max. But I did 5 sets, and I some of them I had to really rest pause.
Look at this. Because he's too cheap to buy a set of dumbbells. He said, oh, I don't need them. I just use this. I don't use dumbbells much, so I don't need them. I just use this contraption. What is that? What are these? You know, he's sort of flinging them around. You know, and again, I want to point out his poor form. Right, he's doing them side raises, yeah, but they call them side laterals. They're side raises, I know that. Anyway, so, but watch his poor form. Watch his poor form. Now, I'll go back a little bit for this. When you're doing sort of deltoid raises to the side here, you bring up your elbows. You keep your hands lower. Yeah, I'll go this way. Lower than your elbows. Yeah, nothing goes above your shoulders. Yeah, otherwise you're going to damage your shoulders. But you keep your elbows lower. Where are we? Lower than your hands. Yeah, and this is basic fundamental training. Yeah, you don't have to be a coach. You don't have to have degrees in sports science or biomechanics or anything like this. Yeah, you just keep your elbow lower than your hand when you pull up. Yeah, if your hand's higher than your elbow, you're going to hurt your shoulder. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to get into technical bullshit because I'm not that person. I'm not a coach. I don't teach weight training or anything like that. Yeah, judo coach, yes, but this isn't my area. But you know, you don't bring it up above your shoulder. You keep your elbow higher than your hand. Yeah, that's all I want to point out. Watch his elbow. Watch his hand.
The whole lift goes up. So
Hands above the elbows.
I gave up trying to deal with fine with dumbbells, and I may not even bother. What am I going to do with dumbbells? Do rows, do chest presses? I got so many different bars to chest press with. Deeper range of motion, I got the football bar.
Now, looking at his technique, I'm thinking this is the shoulder that he's damaged. Yeah, this is the shoulder that he's damaged because this elbow is coming up higher. So the hand is coming up higher than the elbow. I think this is where he's injured. Yeah. So what's that? His left side, his weak, withered side. Yeah. Or is it his right arm that's withered? I don't know what one's withered, but yeah, this is coming up higher than his shoulder. Yeah, sorry, his elbow. And this is the shoulder that's injured. That's what I'm thinking, just by the movement he's doing. And this is the thing, when you back yourself into a corner and the only money you get is sort of, from churning out 5 shitty videos a day for the YouTube shittles. Yeah? 5 shitty videos a day like this where a fucking grown man is prancing around, disgusting potato-shaped body, prancing around in a pair of Ranger panties. You know you can't take a day off. You know you got to keep churning this shit out so you get your sort of $6, $7, $8 a day. Yeah? You know you got to keep churning this shit out. And that's why he can't take a day off. That's why he's trying to train through the injury. And this is the shoulder, I'm thinking, that's injured. Let's have a watch.
I'm not the football bar, I got the buffalo bar.
Yeah.
Which you guys saw today, which is much harder than a straight bar.
He's
injured
here.
And yes, I'm sticking with the weight. I can barely handle 20. Yeah, so I did the belt and the foot forward today. So why belt up and why be so strict with all of it? Low back. Okay, because if I'm going to be doing all these standing movements again, I cannot afford any low back fatigue or cramping. So it's going to include.
So he's worried about his back as well. Worried about his back and his injuries to his back. His elector. And then we move on to the next awesome exercise from the Blaha world of
max deadlift every 2 weeks.
Training.
Okay, you can grip more weight on a deadlift bar than you can with the stiff bar I'm using, just from the grip perspective. Then you got the whip. Some guys don't get anything out of it. Some guys get up to 50 pounds.
How fucked is he? How fucked is his shoulder and his arm? If he's got to resort to using these tiny baby weights now. You remember before he was doing that sort of gay for pay sort of leaning against the wall and he was curling he was leaning against the bar, wasn't he? Curling. I think he had an easy bar and he had these green plates on, these 25s. But now he's dropped down to this weight because he's seriously injured again. And this is the thing. When you get older, things break easier. He doesn't know this because he's got no idea of training or coaching or anything like that. Yeah, he's just feeling around in the dark, doesn't know what way he should be going, what he should be doing, doesn't know how to program decent training in for himself. Doesn't listen to his body. It's all ego lifting. It's all trying to prove how tough and strong and how free he is. And this is why he's constantly getting fucking seriously injured. This is what I was saying before in some of the other videos where I predicted an injury this year, a serious injury. So he's got a back problem, but this shoulder I think is completely shot. And this is why he's using these tiny weights and he's throwing, he can't lift his arm properly, doing the lateral raises. And he's just fucked himself again. Because he doesn't know what he's doing, and he doesn't, realize the basic principle that we get weaker when we get older. The older you get, the more injury prone you get. Yeah, you have to adjust your training when you get older. Yeah, you have to go lighter and more volume. Just keep things moving. Work on your CV system. Look at Dorian Yates right now. Dorian Yates, who's one of the physically biggest bodybuilders of all time, absolutely packed with muscle. And if you look at him now, he's like a third of the size that he once was. He's doing yoga and stuff like that. So if Dorian Yates is doing that, you don't get stronger. You can maintain as you get older, but you don't try increasing your numbers and everything as you get older, because that is a recipe for injury. Again, Blaha doesn't know this because he's not got any qualifications in anything, certainly anything physical, sports science or anything like that. Like I said, he's got no qualification, not qualified to do anything. He's not a coach. You know, that's just ridiculous. That's a fantasy. And he's just going to get even more and more injured. And he is injured already. You know, this is why he's dropped from 2 of these either side down to these pathetic little baby weights. And the way he's doing the side raises, you know, with that contraption thing that he's got tiny weights on. Again, he is seriously injured. Again, he's seriously injured. You know? So there you go. I just wanted to bring that up because I was having a look and I was like, he is injured again. He's gone and fucked himself up again. So there you go. Jason Blaha and his continuous injuries. Anyway, I hope that was informative. Please like, subscribe, share, tell a friend, tell a family. And I'm out of here.
Let me put the nail in this coffin real tight. God hates a coward. God hates a coward. 21:8 says, but the cowardly and the unbelievers, murderers, the sexually immoral, sorcerers, idolaters, and all liars shall have their part in the lake of fire, which is the second death. God wrote that, I didn't. Who leads the list of that ragtag mob? The cowardly.